So you did this thing at the beginning, sort of the beginning of the message, where you talked about this ache that Christians should have in their life, where there's got to be more than this. And I
Yeah.
felt it like in the room. So I just want to ask you as we get started, has there been a moment in your life where you've had that like, there's got to be more
Mm.
than what I'm experiencing right now?
Yeah, I mean, even when you just said it, I'm actually getting a little bit emotional just from you just asking me the question because I think that is probably the cry of most people, but even most Christians.
Wow.
That even as we follow God and as we believe His word and we worship, and I think I even said this in the message, like we lift our hands and we praise God and we're engaged and we're crying and we're thanking
Yeah.
God. But it's like, yeah, I know we just went through this whole series on heaven a few months ago, but
Yeah.
it's like there has to be more than this while I'm here on this earth.
Yeah.
And I just believe so many people miss it because it's like, okay, what we do is we kind of settle,
Hmm.
and instead of pressing in, most people just settle back. And
Yeah.
so for me, that's the ache of my heart
Yeah.
often. And I think that's one of the things that also drives me when I'm preaching.
Wow.
So
That's good. Talking about preaching. You told the story this week, literally as you were preparing for the message. I
oh
think
my
you said
God.
Charlie Horse from Hell.
I did say that. That's exactly how it felt.
Has that ever happened to you
It has
before?
never happened before, which is why I knew it was more significant than simply dehydration.
Yeah.
I believe it was both natural and spiritual, but
Yeah.
I believe the Lord wanted me to feel something
Wow.
that I could bring and relay when I preach the message today. Because as we look at this, it's like, man, God, this feeling literally debilitated me. I've never felt anything like that in my life
Wow.
to where it went up and I literally shot back into the wall in my seat. I mean, if I could have had a camera in there, it probably would be on America's Funniest Home Videos, but it was not funny at
I
all.
bet.
I was actually a little nervous when it happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you able to recognize like in the moment, hey, this is not normal, this is a spiritual attack, or was that something that sort of came later as you were processing it?
Pretty quickly after,
Okay.
in the moment, I was just screaming.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm telling you, and I think I have a high tolerance of pain,
Yeah.
and I'm in my office, and literally my leg goes this way. It shoots up in my core, and I back into my wall, and I'm just trying to move. And I felt like if I literally felt like I was telling someone this, I literally felt like if I moved anything too much, I was gonna rip my whole hamstring.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was bad. It was bad.
So how long did that take for you to like for it to go away? And then how did you process that moment with the Lord and go, okay, that was an attack. What am I gonna do now to press onward to finish what he had you
Yeah.
to do this week?
So when one of our team members came back and I asked him, I said, give me some chips.
Did you literally like
I literally, so I FaceTimed. I literally was on my phone
oh my
FaceTiming,
gosh.
and then actually he didn't answer the first two times I called. So I was saying Siri, call another person. He called back,
Oh my
and
gosh.
he, kind of casual when he answered the phone. I was like, "Can you come to my office?" He was like, "I'm coming." I said, "Come now." Like, come now. So literally, he runs back to the office, and the way my office is, like when you first walk in, I'm kind of behind another wall,
Yeah.
and but as he walked in. He walks in and is like, "Hey," I said, "Get some chips." I didn't even say hello. I just like, "Get
Yeah.
chips and get me some water." And so we just took the time, and as soon as I started eating the chips and getting the salt, and as soon as I got some liquid IV and started drinking some
Yeah.
water, and I felt like it started to subside.
Mhm.
And in that moment, I just tried to really just recalibrate. And we ended up just kind of taking some time and just walking. I went out and got some fresh air. And in that moment, I said, that wasn't just
Wow.
dehydration. Because literally, as I said in the message, literally as I wrote down, that we're throwing off passivity
Yeah.
and we're pursuing purposefulness,
Yeah.
I tried to move. I tried to
Oh
go
my
right,
gosh.
and everything else just stopped.
Yeah. Did that give you like a fire to like, okay,
Yeah,
you
it did. It is like, okay, I'm not gonna go through this pain for nothing.
Yeah.
And again, I think, even in my ministry style, I think I am wanting you to feel
Yeah.
what I feel.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hype people.
Yeah.
I really want to
Yeah. Yeah.
incite you to change that this matters, that this is not just a casual time. And I'll be very honest, like in pastoring, in preaching on a regular basis, we all hear so many messages.
Hmm.
We all hear so much preaching. And so it's like, what makes this difference? What makes it different is that you do something with it.
Right. Yeah.
and that you actually change and that you are sparked and you are shifted enough to say, I'm not going to remain the same.
Wow,
So,
that's good, man. There was a sort of exclamation moment I felt in the message where you talked about this idea of work being a testimony
mm,
to people of the God that you serve. And I had a moment years and years ago before I was in ministry. I did construction. This older guy, he's probably 15 years older, shop manager, came to me one day, and he was like lowest of lows.
mhm,
Like his whole life was falling apart. He came to me in tears. He's like, "I just want you to know that I've watched you these past 2 or 3
mm,
years. I never witnessed to him.
yep,
I never, hey, let's read the Bible.
yep,
I mean, but he said, I watched the way that you work and the way that you live. And I know that God is real because of that."
wow.
So that moment in the message felt real, felt like you were speaking from experience.
Yes.
So can you tell us about just a time that you were able to see that kind of manifest?
Yeah, I mean, I've had all types of jobs. I've had, the lawn care job when I was out in the cold where there wasn't any grass to cut, but you're blowing
Yeah.
leaves off a parking lot. I've had, the cleaning of the bathrooms jobs. I've had, working at a summer camp. I've
Hmm.
had, working in a church, working in ministry. And for me, all of those moments, I've always tried to, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I've always, really been intentional about stewarding my moments.
Yeah.
I have this thing that I've been saying for years that, steward your moment, steward your second, because your second turns into your minute
Yeah.
turns into your hour turns into your week turns into your month turns into your years, and years turns into decades. But you never do anything with that if you don't steward the right now.
Yeah.
And so I've literally had moments where I knew that I was doing something even before I was probably as aware of like
Hmm.
my relationship with God.
Yeah.
I knew all I have is this moment,
Wow.
and how I show up is reflective of who I am and my character. And I think just in the years, more recent years, I've just kind of shifted and saying, God, how I steward these moments is a reflection of who you are and who you sent me to be as a representative of you.
Yeah, that's good, man. All right, last question. If people could take one thing away from this message, what would you hope that thing would be?
I want to leave you with this. Um, don't just breathe to death. Like I know you can hear that and it can sound a little cliche, but I intentionally, even in the message, I was feeling it as I was walking through. I intentionally wanted to take some time
Yeah.
to really put words to how we breathe to death, how we get up, we go through the motions, we go to work, we lay down,
Hmm.
we get up,
Hmm.
we go through until we die. And again, I said it, my late mentor would always say, when you die, would it even have mattered that you lived? And for me, that's my testimony. That's what I
Yeah.
want to be relayed to everybody, that we have an opportunity not to breathe to death, but to live a life that really reflects the abundant life that Jesus really came for.
Yeah. That's powerful. Thanks, Pastor. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.